This episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible is the leading source of audiobooks in the world. From bestsellers like Harry Potter to The Martian, or to the Heir to the Empire series by Timothy Zahn, a must-read for any Star Wars fan. And even books by some of the most well-known geeks in the world, like You're Never Weird on the Internet by Felicia Day, or you can listen to Ready Player One read by Will Wheaton, or you can even listen to Tim Ferriss read The 4-Hour Workweek and The 4-Hour Body. With over 180,000 titles to choose from and thousands more on the way, Audible is the go-to source for audiobooks. You can download them on your iPhone, iPad, Android device, and even Windows phones, as well as listen on your laptop. For a 30-day free trial of Audible, which gives you an instant +3 to intelligence, head over to www.audibletrial.com/sidequest and start your free trial today. Again, for a +3 to intelligence, head over to www.audibletrial.com/sidequest. Holy crap, guys. Welcome to a brand new episode. I'm super excited today to share this one with you. This is episode 90. Episode 90 of SideQuest Podcast. We are 10 episodes away from hitting episode 100. The next 10 guests, the next 10 episodes, I'm calling the road to 100. I have some excellent guests stacked up for the next 10 episodes, a couple of coaches' corners, and we're going to revisit some older guests who are going to come back and tell us how they've been doing since they were some of the first to come on the show. If you're not following me on Twitter, check me out at SideQuest FM. Head over to Facebook, search SideQuest Fitness, and like the Facebook page over there. Get updates on all of my shenanigans, all of the podcast episodes, Taco Tuesday, Taco Camp, great series of video that I'm putting out on Facebook, and all the updates on everything else going on in the world of fitness, in the world of geek, and all of the crazy things that I do. Also, head over and follow me on Instagram at SideQuest FM, and hit me up on Snapchat, SideQuest Fit. You can follow me there and see a little more in-depth story of what I do throughout the day, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's riding, whether it's my wife randomly taking over things and making me look bad, or whatever else happens. Check it out there at Snapchat. If you have iOS, head over to Anchor as well. It's a brand new social network. It's kind of a podcasting app. You got 2 minutes to put out your spiel or talk, and people can like you, they can respond, and you've got voice as opposed to just text. So head over to Anchor, download that, and follow me over there, SideQuest Fitness. Guys, I am pumped for the next 10 episodes. I'm pumped for episode 90, and I cannot thank you guys enough for all of the support over these first 90 episodes. If you have not left your review, I ask that you please head over to iTunes and leave a review in the iTunes store. Every single review that you leave helps us move up the charts, helps SideQuest Podcast get seen by more eyes so people can hear the amazing 90 episodes that I've already put out into the world. So head over there and leave a review on iTunes. And while you're at your computer, head over to SideQuestFitness.com and pick up the Training Grounds, my 28-day training regimen that you can implement today to start your fitness quest. Start burning fat, building muscle, and creating the superhero body that you've always wanted. Not only will you get 28 days of specific training for the gym, as well as exercises for you to do at home, but I'll include a comprehensive health point nutrition guideline that will let you enjoy the foods you love while you lose weight without ever having to count a single calorie. And while you're at SideQuestFitness.com, if you're interested in taking your physique to the next level, if you're interested in becoming as strong as the Sith, head over and click on online coaching, fill out the application, and join me and the rest of the heroes in the Hall of Heroes working to unlock the most awesome version of themselves. I'm super pumped for the guest that I got onto the show today. For episode 90, starting the road to 100, I got none other than Craig Ballantyne. Craig Ballantyne is a fitness and personal development guru from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and the author of The Perfect Day Formula, How to Own the Day and Control Your Life. He has been a contributor to Men's Health magazine since 2000, and his articles have also appeared in Women's Health, Oxygen, GQ, Maxim, National Geographic, Men's Fitness, and Muscle and Fitness Hers. In 2001, he created the popular home workout program Turbulence Training. And in 2013, he created the 6 Minutes to Skinny bodyweight exercise weight loss system and the Metabolic Kickstarter follow-along exercise videos. He's also the founder of the Certified Turbulence Training Program, certifying trainers from all corners of the globe, and he hosts an annual Turbulence Training Summit every year for fitness experts to become better trainers and get more clients in their boot camps so they can make more money and live the perfect life. Craig's online success has led him to create books and a coaching program to show other gurus how to take their ideas and help thousands of people. Craig has had many obstacles to overcome on his way. His toughest battle was spending 6 months suffering crippling anxiety attacks until he finally discovered how to beat them with his 5 pillars of transformation. Today, on the show, Greg will show us how to use those 5 pillars to lose 10 to 50 pounds, get a raise and make some money, or find the love of your life and overcome obstacles that are standing in your way of success. Greg is also the co-owner of the successful newsletter earlytorise.com, where you will find his daily essays on success, productivity, time management, fitness, weight loss, and self-improvement. Craig and I go into a lot in this episode. Early to Rise is a fantastic website, and his book, I dove into his book and finished it within a day. The Perfect Day Formula is fantastic. It's only 151 pages, and it is definitely a book I highly suggest picking up on Amazon and getting through on the weekend. There's a lot of great things in it. He talks about a lot of awesome stuff on his website, and we're going to talk about that in the show. So without further ado, let's get into episode 90 and begin the road to 100. All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. I have a fantastic guest for you today. He is one of the biggest names in the fitness industry, and he is kicking off the road to the 100th episode. So he is going to be episode 90, and we're going to kick off the road to 100 with the man who sort of started internet fitness programs and has helped millions of people, well, thousands of people all around the world. In fitness coaching, in business coaching, and life coaching as well. But I want to say thank you for him for coming on the show. But I want to welcome Mr. Craig Ballantyne. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, sir.
You have written a fantastic new book. I, as my guests know, I'm very slow when it comes to reading. But I really just dug into this one. And it has a lot of really great ideas for how to get your life in order, sort of how to live a more structured life. I think a lot of us tend to just kind of go willy-nilly. But the book is titled The Perfect Day Formula, How to Own the Day and Control Your Life. And one of the things that you point out in it, Craig, is that, having more structure and order to your day actually provides you with more freedom, which seems sort of counterintuitive. We go to work, we do our thing, maybe we go out with our friends at night, maybe we don't. Why is it that more structure actually provides more freedom?
Well, take a look at it this way. Imagine there was no red lights. Imagine there was no stoplights in the world. And it was just, hey, if you want to stop at this intersection, go for it. If you want to fly right through it, by all means, have at it. Well, you know what? It would descend into chaos pretty quickly, and it would be a bad way for the world to operate. And so it's the same with our lives. And I can imagine I'm 15 years older than most people listening to this call. And so I'm going to put myself in your shoes. And back then, if I was you, I'd probably resist a lot of what I'm going to say, because I did resist a lot of, what I believe now when I was your age. But bear with me, take some of this stuff into consideration. Implement a little bit, experiment with it as you young guys do these days. Life hack your own life with some really good tips here. And even if you apply this stuff 80% of the time, you're really going to get some great results from it. And I always use the analogy in life are like, they're a race car and they're just off in the grass at the Indy 500 and they're spinning their wheels. And all they need is somebody to come along and lift up the bumper and put the wheels on the pavement. And then, they just whoosh down the road. And so that's what these tips are going to allow someone to do. They're going to help you stop spinning your wheels in the mud, put it on track, and really accelerate your progress in life. So if you can't use all of them, use some of them. Find the ones that make the biggest difference in your life and live with intent. That's what it's all about, living with intent, having a proactive approach to life rather than being reactive.
I love that you say living with intent. Trying to figure out what your purpose is in life. And you talk about that in the book, and you've talked about it on a few other podcasts that I've listened to that you were on. How did you sort of find your own purpose? Like what was the moment that you realized what that purpose was?
Well, believe it or not, I was 4 years old when I had a kind of a life-changing moment, and I was in a car with my mom, and I live on the outside of a small town in Canada, or I did when I was a child, called Stratford, Ontario. It's actually where Justin Bieber is from, believe it or not. So he and I share the same hometown. But it was 1979, so I was born in 75, and I'm coming home from town with my mom, and she's sad. And I look over at her and I go, "Mommy, what's wrong? I mean, you look sad." And she said that she had just gotten back from her Weight Watchers meeting, and she hadn't lost any weight. So she was really frustrated, and that left a mark on me, So if you have kids, you kind of got to be careful about what you say and the way you say it and what emotions you display, because I thought about that, and it made me realize that, hey, I don't like it when people feel this way or look this way. I want to change people's lives. And so that kind of got me into this idea of transforming people, I guess. And so over the years, I found my way into helping people transform their lives physically. And so when I was in high school, I actually wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach in the NHL. I was very lucky to know early in life that I wanted to be in the health and fitness industry. Now I got into college and I realized that, hey, in Canada, it's pretty tough for somebody to have a job as a strength and conditioning coach. Even if you're in the NHL, you're getting paid $40,000 a year back in 2000. So when I was finishing up school, so just it wasn't enough. And then I also started writing for Men's Health in 2000. I found the editor's email address. I sent him some stuff, and he started putting me in the magazine. So I don't actually have any good tips on how to get into writing for magazines other than just email the editor your latest newsletter. But anyways, that was how I got my start into kind of helping the busy person change their life. And it was inspired, by that incident when I was younger, but also just my interest in health and fitness and realizing, at least in my opinion, that health and fitness is generally easy to achieve and that a lot of people are doing things the wrong way. And I just wanted to go out there and, proclaim to the world that you don't need to waste your time. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You don't need to do a lot of hours in the gym. Here are the things that work. And so I've been trumpeting that for decades now. And people are catching on, and obviously there's a lot of other people that have made a huge impact, but together we've kind of brought this harder training, shorter workouts idea to the world, and it's a huge movement these days. And so that's kind of my story about how I went from little kid in a car to transforming lives these days, and then meeting guys like Romanello and helping him who help you, and it's this great ripple effect as we go and help a lot of people just make sense of this whole world of health and fitness.
That's been the biggest surprise for me in the short time that I've sort of been in the industry. It's just how open and helpful everyone is. You would think that people who are successful are like, oh no, I don't want you in here. You're competition, but everyone is so willing to help and give advice. And one thing that people ask every time I meet them is, what can I do for you? And it's been such a huge inspiration on me that I try and do that with everyone I meet. I had someone reach out to me on Twitter the other day out of nowhere and ask me for my email address and started asking me about, getting into online coaching, like writing, how you do that. And I was kind of like, oh, wow. Like a year ago, or a year and a half ago, this was me emailing the people that I was looking up to. And it felt kind of nice to sort of pass the buck and return that favor.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, one of the funnest things that I like that really just gives me, joy, not the funnest, but the simplest things in life that give me joy is when somebody stops me on the street of Toronto and says, can you give me directions? And I think it's just naturally built into humans that we just like to help people. And so the opportunity to help people is, abundant in the health and fitness world. And then health and fitness world tends to attract people who like to help others. And so it is not a cutthroat industry. It's not like maybe the real estate estate industry in New York, where every real estate agent would never want to be friends with another real estate agent because they're all stomping out the same territory. Or maybe if you actually go back into research science world, which is where I got my start, there's a lot of negativity in there, and people don't want to help each other, and they want to cut everybody else's studies down and say, oh, here's the flaw in your research. And so I'm glad I'm out of that and into the health and fitness world, where, like you said, people are just like, hey, great to meet you. How can I help you? Who can I introduce you to? What can you teach me? And away we go.
Yeah. I have a background in theater, and it's very interesting in that world how dog eat dog and cutthroat it can be. My wife went out on auditions, and she was like, you can just tell people are so fake. Like, you can't tell if they're really your friend, or if they're gonna like tell you about something so they can backstab you. Like it's a very weird sort of thing. But I've seen it in that field too.
Somebody's going to tell you, oh, the director really loves it when you use a fake British accent, but then you go in there and you realize that it's a setup, and
right,
that the director thinks you're an idiot or something.
Yeah. You're waiting for someone to tell you something wrong. Yeah. So we're sort of talking about finding mentors and coaches and people who sort of help you in life. So who was your greatest mentor, and what lesson from them still echoes in your mind?
Geez, I have so many mentors. Mark Ford is one of my greatest mentors. He's the guy who owned Early to Rise originally. He started in 2000. I bought it from him in 2011. Certainly a lot of stuff that he says has really influenced me, like, getting up early, being into the office half an hour before other people, going to bed, getting up at the same time every day has been the greatest change for my energy levels ever. It's even better than eating a really great diet. You're not tired at 2:00 in the afternoon. So it's all stuff like that. And then a guy like Yannick Silver, who taught me that you can't outgive the universe. And that kind of sounds hokey and weird, but I realized over time that it's true. So it goes back to what we were just talking about. When you go and help other people, by helping other people, you make them better. And if you make somebody else better, it's all going to come back to you. So even if you don't want to help somebody out of the goodness of your heart, you can help somebody out of selfish reasons, because it really is going to come back and improve your life. So if you go and make somebody else in your neighborhood a better gym owner, it's going to attract more people into your community looking for gyms, and people are going to stumble across your gym. So, don't hold back. Just go and give and give and give. And that's some of the advice that's really helped me. And definitely Yannick and Mark have been two of the greatest influencers in my life.
All right. I think the concept of giving is something a lot of people don't think about. Maybe I'm wrong in this, sort of tying it to after the financial collapse of 2008. Everyone became people were pretty scarcity minded, in giving away a lot of stuff, or keeping things for themselves. And we were talking about sort of how giving the fitness industry has been, and it's been a big shock to me, because in the business world, it's not really that way. Everyone was protecting their own. But that spurred another thought in my mind as well. And I had this question written down, because you talk about it in the book, about being alone with your thoughts and being able to take time out of the world and refocus on yourself. And there's a great little moment. Louis C.K. is talking to, I believe it's Conan or one of the late night hosts. And he's talking about how as kids, he doesn't allow them to have cell phones, because he would rather them, be alone with their thoughts than have to be alone with a phone. Why do you think we're afraid to be alone with our thoughts and learn aspects about ourselves that could help us towards our goals?
Do you know who Nicholas Taleb is, who wrote Fooled by Randomness?
Yes.
Okay, he has a great quote. He has a great quote in a book called The Bed of Procrustes, and it goes like this. Most people fear being without audio-visual stimulation because they are too repetitive when they think and imagine things on their own. And that's the reason why. A lot of people, for lack of a nicer analogy, are like Homer Simpson with the hamster running on the wheel in the brain. And there's just not a lot going on there. All day long they are trained to respond, to react to things that come up. They don't act proactively. They don't think in advance. They don't plan and prepare. They're constantly shifting and multitasking between iPhone, internet, television, real world. And so when you actually give somebody thinking time, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do without stimulation. And it's because, as Talib says, they aren't practiced at it. And so that's the problem. And so most people, I believe, as I teach in the book, would actually make incredible progress in their life if they simply got up 5 to 15 minutes earlier every day before, their girlfriend or spouse got up, and they went and sat at their kitchen table with a blank piece of paper, identified their number one problem or opportunity, and started thinking of ways to attack it and make progress on it. Now imagine you did that every day. Now imagine you were in credit card debt for $3,000 to $5,000, and you sat down every morning and you thought, how can I get out of debt faster? Well, you would sit there and you think, okay, what other credit cards can I explore that have a lower interest rate? What other sources of income can I go and find? What can I write or create that I could sell, that I could make money and pay off this debt? Or what expenses do I have that I could cut out and give up and not suffer from, and therefore cut back on my debt? Now imagine you did that for 6 days a week, if not 7, for a month. Do you think that you wouldn't get out of debt really fast? Of course you would. And so that's what people need to do with their life. If they learn nothing else from my book, do that. Just do that, and you'll make incredible progress on anything, even if it's finding the love of your life.
I love that. I have actually taken the last couple of days your advice in the book, and instead of getting up and writing down what I must do for the day, I write my must-do list the night before. And I have not been more productive than like this week than ever. So like taking things from the book like that you mentioned and putting them into practice work.
Totally.
Yeah. So let's talk a little about the perfect day formula, what the book is about. How can someone improve their life using the perfect day formula?
Well, I mentioned the words proactive and reactive. And what that means is, again, most people, they wake up late. They hit snooze, so they're already chasing the world. Mm-hmm. Then they go, and because they're late and they may have to skip their exercise, or they may have to eat a crappy breakfast on the go. They get a lot of sugar and caffeine, and then they kind of crash late morning, and then they're really hungry, and so they go and make a bad lunchtime decision, and then they fall asleep at 2 o'clock in their chair, and then because of all of this, they actually end up having to work late because they didn't get everything done, and then they miss out on dinner or social time with their family, and they stay up late, and it all starts again the next day. And so that is what I want to help people interrupt in their lives with a better way of living. And so that means be proactive. So plan out tomorrow, tonight. If you do that, you're already way ahead of the curve. And then make sure that you take a few steps to have a good night's sleep, and that's chronicled in the book. And then so you get up the next morning feeling pretty good. You don't feel hungover, you don't feel terrible, or you only got 4 hours sleep because you binge watched a TV show, and you wake up and you're ready to go. You get something done, like I said, in that 5 to 15 minutes, and you have a victory that the world can't take away from you. Even if you spend 5 minutes on your number one priority, no matter how many emergencies come up, no matter how many things go wrong over the course of the day, you've made some progress. And research shows that when people lack a sense of progress, that's when they give up on things. So in a company like, say, Yahoo right now, people are not seeing progress, and they're probably, that morale at that company is probably so low right now because, everything is negative about them in the news. There's layoffs. And so there's very little sense of progress, and it's a very difficult place for somebody to reach their potential individually or as part of a team when everyone sees the negativity around them and there's no positive progress. And so if you are like that in your own individual life because you're always chasing the world and not ahead of it, you're going to get into a rut, and you're just going to start to become that bitter person that no one wants to hang around with at a party because they don't have anything going for them when everybody else around them at least has some progress in their life. So again, that's another thing that I really want people to at least try, being proactive and planning and getting ahead. You don't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You just have to get up 5 minutes earlier than you do right now, and it will make a big difference. I promise you that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I tell a lot of my clients, and even I lose this battle with the wife, but it's all right. I'm still working on her slowly, but I've told her the first thing to do, and same thing with my clients. First
You
thing,
know, just get a couple of days. You don't ask. Yeah, don't ask her to change on the weekends or anything. Just say, hey, Monday and Tuesday, can we try this thing where we do some planning and
yeah.
stuff, and work your way up from there.
Oh, we started making the bed. That's our first morning ritual, which has sort of become a little win to get, because the bed's made, and then when you come home, you've got a made bed. But sort of stacking those little wins, I tell her and tell my clients, first thing in the morning, take 10 minutes for yourself, and let the first 10 minutes of the morning be the most selfish time of the day for you. Do something that positively impacts your life. If that's prepping your food for the day, or getting a quick workout in, do that. If it's reading a book, do that. But something that doesn't involve an electronic or whatever, whether it's writing, painting, singing, something that positively impacts your life. Because once you sort of get that in, the morning starts to feel better, and you don't mind waking up. Because when I worked in corporate America, I hated waking up. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, and that brings me to a point that I heard Bill Phillips say many years ago. He actually, I wrote about this in Early to Rise. I read that Bill said, make sure that you eat a good breakfast, because if you eat a good breakfast, you have that momentum, and you don't want to have a bad lunch because you're like, I'm kind of on this streak. I had a good breakfast. I don't want to ruin all that work that I had this morning by having, Burger King or something for lunch. So I'm going to have a good lunch. And then you're just like, it's snack time. I don't want to have a bad snack because, so far today I'm really on this streak. I've had a good lunch, I've had a good breakfast, and it's all about that momentum early in the morning. And so if you win your morning, then, you're going to have a great day. And again, you're going to have those victories. And even if you do make some mistakes later on, at least you haven't ruined the entire day.
So in the book as well, you talk about sort of a double formula along with the perfect day formula, and that's the 3C formula. Can you talk a little about what the 3C formula is and how it works?
Yeah, so over the years, I've become a big fan of Stoic philosophy. It's been introduced to me by my business partner, Matt Smith, and I stumbled across this little book called The Art of Living by Sharon Labelle, and it's a translation of Epictetus's major lessons from his book, The Discourses. The Discourses is written by one of his students who translated or who transcribed some of his speeches. But anyways, the book really had a big impact on me, and one of the lessons that I interpreted was control what you can, cope with what you can't, and concentrate on what counts. And that's my 3C formula that we then apply to the three different parts of the day. So we control our morning. And then we know that the world is going to bring us chaos in the afternoon, so we cope with what we can't control by having formulas in place to plan and prepare for solutions. And then we concentrate on what counts at night, which is coming home to our wife or our girlfriends or to our kids and being present with them. The worst thing that I see in parenting is when you're at the park and the parent is on the phone. And I saw this in Denver the other week when I was there walking around with my business partner, and there was this little kid kicking a soccer ball to his dad, and his dad was looking at the phone. And this went back and forth without the father looking up. I mean, he would walk over to the ball and kick it, and he wouldn't even look up at his kid. And this went on for a couple minutes, and with every kick, the little kid became less and less interested, and it was really sad. And I don't want, people to be like that. I want them to be engaged with their kids. I want them to be able to put the phone away without worry of having to respond to some, work issue or, just being focused on that. So what you do is you get all this work done during the day so that by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going, you know what? I put in a full day. I don't really need to take this work home. I can go home and, if my buddies want to sit around and watch Game of Thrones, we're good for that. Or if we want to watch basketball, or if I want to go to a bar and hang out, or if I want to, go and act in a play or whatever it is, I don't have to have all this, other stuff that the world has brought into us now with the way that work and home life blends. I really believe that we should go old school and separate the two as much as possible, because you liberate yourself, you liberate your thinking, your creativity, and I believe your health too.
I agree with that. When I worked in corporate America, it amazed me the people that would take their work phones with them on vacation. Like they're working on vacation. And I'm like, why are you even going on vacation? Like they're sending emails out at like 5 a.m, like before anyone's up. Like if it was snowing and you didn't want people to come into work, that's one thing. But like, it blew my mind that people just never seemed to stop that were like executives, and just never
Well,
had a life outside of the building.
yeah, and in my business, I actually tell people that they're not allowed to check their work email on the weekends. I mean, we don't operate an emergency room, so there really isn't an emergency room in our business, and there's no reason that you need to check email on a Saturday. But there's certain people that I can't stop from doing it, whether it's their past habits or, email is just that addictive to them. But I encourage that in my business, and I really think everything can wait until Monday morning. And there's ways that you can make your weekends, email free by not sending a lot of email on Friday afternoon so that you don't get responses over the weekend. And that way you don't come into this, crazy inbox on Monday morning. And so I encourage that in my business because I think it is really beneficial to the employees to be able to be free and clear on the weekend. And from what I've heard back from them when I talk to them, they say they appreciate it, knowing that we care enough to let them have a weekend to de-stress, to when your nephew has a communion or something, you can go to it and not have to worry about pulling out your iPhone to answer an email. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, people have built an amazing society up until 1990 without checking their email on the weekends because they didn't have it. So we can probably go and continue to build an amazing society without having to check email and do all these silly things on the weekends. So we bring a lot of these problems upon ourselves. And I just encourage people to slowly step away from the electronics. Give yourself a 4-hour block on a Sunday morning where you don't even turn on your iPhone and you don't check the internet and you just, you go in a park and you don't take your phone with you. It really is liberating. You'll think about things in a different way and be more creative.
I'm one of those people, Craig, that struggles with that. I try not to check my email too many times in the day, but I want to help my clients so much, and I'm so giving that I want them to succeed. And when they, I will check it way too many times, and even on the weekends, and I do get yelled at for that. So I too am working on checking less email. So one thing from the book that I wanted to know. You talk about your first after school job. I grew up, my dad was like, you're going to have a job. I worked as a kid. It's going to teach you a lot of skills that you're going to need later in life. I used that money to buy a car, as a kid. And I think that was a valuable lesson for me to understand, that I just couldn't be given things, that I had to work for them. So what was your after school job and what skills from that do you carry on today?
Well, I'll tell you what. When I got my first after-school job, it was actually a vacation from what I was doing otherwise, which was working unpaid on my father's farm. So for me, it was, it wasn't hard work on my father's farm because we had a beef farm, which is a lot easier than a dairy farm where you have to milk the cows at 5 a.m. and 5 o'clock at night. But all we had to do was feed them a couple times and then clean up their manure. So it was easy. But, I got my first job at 13 in 1988. And for all those people, fighting for the old minimum wage of $15, I made $3.10 an hour. So now I wasn't walking uphill both ways in the snow in my bare feet like, the generation before me. But that was my reality in 1988. And I still made enough money to go and buy Nintendo games after, working a full day for $25. Think about that. A full day of work, and I made $25. But anyways, I worked for this gentleman who immigrated from Holland to Canada, and he was a hard worker. And I just learned so much from him. I learned so much from my father and from my mother. They were all for basically 5 years. I dug ditches for $4.50 an hour after a couple raises, in the burning sun. I painted things. I crawled under benches and put out weed killer because it was a greenhouse. Sorry if I didn't mention that already. It was a garden center and greenhouse, and I didn't really like it because I had no interest in plants. But I did it because I wanted to make money and pay for college. And so I worked and worked and worked, and then I'd go to the gym for like 90 minutes in high school when I was into like bodybuilding. So I was pretty structured in my days back then, even in high school, because I really didn't have much time to goof around. And so I learned a lot about time management. I learned how to work hard. I learned how to run a small business. I learned how to take care of customers. I didn't learn how to sell, and that was probably my greatest regret. So I wish I would have had some type of job that relied on me to supplement my earnings with, face-to-face selling, whether it was at a restaurant as a server or something like that. I really could have benefited from some type of sales training, because that kind of handicapped me in my own business. So as tough as it is, and it's easy for me to say now that I wish I would have done that, it would have been hard for me to do that, but because that's stepping out of my comfort zone. But I'm learning it now, and I should learn. If I learned it 20 years earlier, I'd be more successful today. So those are some of the stories from my time as in my high.
All right, so before we go back to talking about the book, real quick, Craig, I got a couple of fun questions I want to ask you that I ask all my guests. If you could go anywhere in a time machine, where would you go?
This is a dangerous one. I guess I would go to World War II, and as long as I did not have to participate, and as long as I was in Canada still. So I'm really, for some reason, fascinated with that time period. Some of the most interesting books I've read are about the history of World War II. There's so much that most people don't know about it, and it would. Just give you a little history lesson. I mean, most of World War II was fought on the Eastern Front. I mean, that's where it was really won and lost. And 30 million Russians died in that. It's just unbelievable. And so my favorite book from that is I think it's William Hastings, but it's called All Hell Let Loose. It is an incredible book.
All right. Yeah, it is interesting that people don't, we all focus on the Western Front, I guess because we're America and that's just how we teach it.
Right.
But yeah, it's what the Russians endured and went through is it's astronomical, the amount of deaths that they had. All right, you're in the finals for the International Air Guitar Championships. What song do you play to take home the crown?
Maybe Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
All right.
Not because I love it, but it's just like the first song that kind of came to my head.
Hey, it's a great intro to play on like air guitar. You could totally rock that out.
Yeah, and you get to wear little boy shorts and a suit jacket at the same time, and a tie. I
mean, I thought of like Thor with like Mjolnir, and like you have a lightning thing that comes out. So like when you play the air guitar, it would. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going in my head. Obviously, you can't have a sword or a hammer because it's air guitar.
You'd be playing Air Sword, which is a different game.
Which is a totally different game. All right, if you could write
you should invent that. You should invent Air Sword, where people get to pretend like they are Luke Skywalker against Thor duels? In air swording. And
slight confession.
There you go.
Craig. I basically was the lightsaber duel kid. That was me growing up. Just never got caught on camera. If you could write a note to your younger self, what would you say in only 2 words?
Get coaching.
All right, I like it. Okay. All right, so I want to go back to the book real quick, and then I have one little final question based on your 12 rules, which I'm going to sit down tomorrow morning and write down myself for my 12.
Very cool.
My I don't know how many I'll have. One of them will be take North Carolina losses a lot easier than the giant tirade you went on Monday night because of that heartbreaking shot.
Did you go there?
No. I grew up in North Carolina, and North Carolina basketball in North Carolina is almost a religion. Like we got out of school early for basketball games. Like schools, like businesses would shut down for the ACC tournament. It's a big deal in North Carolina. So in the book, you talk about the 5 pillars.
Hey, Robbie, can I ask you a question? Have you ever watched a New York Jets game with John Romanello?
I have not watched one with John Romanello. Actually, yes, I did. Okay. When we were in Venice, they were playing the Bills, and the whole time he was like, "We're gonna lose. And I'm like, "Dude, you're up." He's like, "Doesn't matter. They're just gonna come back. We're gonna lose." And they lost. He's like, "What I tell you, we're gonna lose."
Yeah, I think he's gotten used to it now. Back when he thought they were good, they were more violent in not violent, but he was more upset by the losses. Now I think, like you said, he just predicts that they're going to lose and kind of accepts it in advance.
I can get. I was a little. I have to say, when Marcus Page hit that 3, I didn't even think about it. I hit my knees, like I hit the ground, and I was just like, I couldn't believe it happened. And then when the guy hit the shot, I turned the TV off. I got in bed and I was like, I don't want to talk to you right now, honey. I love you, but I can't put into words what just happened. But let's talk about the book before we wrap up. So, what are the 5 pillars of personal transformation? And can you sort of walk us through a couple examples of like how people can put these in action in life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I learned them from my weight loss transformation stories, and they're better planning and preparation. That's number one. So you have to have a really solid plan, not just say you want to lose 10 pounds, but if I need to lose 10 pounds, I need to do this workout 3 times per week, and I need to follow this meal plan, and I need to, have this sleep schedule, and I need to avoid these obstacles. So better planning and preparation. The second one is professional accountability. And as I mentioned before, get coaching is what I would have told my younger self, because hiring a coach in any aspect of your life is the most important thing you can do to accelerate your results, because they're giving you expert advice. They've been there and done that, and they also hold you accountable. Now, that's different from the third pillar, which is social support. These are the people that are your cheerleaders. So professional accountability is a coach. Positive social support are your cheerleaders. Those are the people that are going to cheer you up on a bad day, and you need those people in your life. The fourth pillar is a meaningful incentive. And so it's one thing for someone to say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds so that I can, buy these nice jeans. That'll get you through 2 weeks of a 12-week transformation contest, but it won't keep you around till the end. But, looking sexy for your spouse, getting a girlfriend, that's what John did back in the day. He wanted to lose weight to look good for a girl. And, not looking good, but having energy for your children, that's a meaningful incentive to change.
Yeah.
And so it needs to be meaningful to you. And then finally, the fifth one, and actually the most important pillar of them all, is the big deadline. And when we have a deadline in our lives, it spurs us to action, just like Christmas Day spurs us to go to the mall on the 24th, even though we've known that it's Christmas Day on the 25th every year. It's not like Easter, which is a sneaky holiday, which, is on these random weekends every year. But we know that December 25th is going to be Christmas, but we still wait until the last minute. And so that's what deadlines do. They at least get us to take action. And they also give us the motivation when we're halfway through a transformation to keep going, because now we go, okay, 6 weeks done. This is getting really, really boring. I'm not able to party like I used to. I have to eat a little bit cleaner. Oh, but you know what? There's only 6 weeks left in the transformation. I can do it. So that's the big thing to really make people take that final action. And like in a marathon, people will run a little bit faster in that final mile, and that's what we do in the final week of our change. No matter what we're changing, we push a little bit harder towards that deadline.
Okay. So in the book as well, you talk about concentrating on what counts. So many people, because we're so stimulated by our phones, by our televisions, by everything else, we may not even know what counts. So how does someone, find what counts, and how do they create a vision for their life with that?
Right. So the thing you need to do is figure out what really matters to you at this time. And so it might be your health, it might be your career, it might be your family, whatever it is, you have to identify what that number one thing is, and that's what you make time for in the morning, and that's what you focus your work on. And that's where you put most of your energy. Of course, you don't neglect anything else, but you put your focus there. And it really just comes down to, again, a bit of thinking. Don't take your phone to the park, but go for a walk around the park and think about what really matters. Why are you waking up and working so hard? What are you doing this all for? And who do you want to spend your time with? And what experiences do you want to have? And that's what matters. And then once you identify that, then you go and plan out the rest of your days so that you take advantage of that.
Okay. A lot of that I feel sort of comes and may have been influenced by the sort of 12 rules. I know you wrote these a while ago and you updated them, and you put a post up as well. And I did something sort of similar last year, I guess. I wrote like 6 reasons why I train, why I go to the gym, why it's important to me. But reading about the 12 rules and hearing you talk about them and understanding where they came from for you, like I said, it inspired me to sit down this Saturday morning and get those done. But 2 of yours I really loved, and I wanted to ask you a couple of questions on the rules before we close out. You always talk about keeping the child in you alive. And for me, that's important as well, because I'm a big goofball. I video games and Star Wars and comic books, all that connects to my inner child. So I always want to keep those connected. But what are the 3 activities your inner child enjoys the most?
One of the things is anything with my dog. So I love to just the first thing I do in the morning is I come downstairs and I let him hang out with me, and we just goof around for a bit. And then any sports, I still just love to play sports, watch sports. So try and get into that. And then funny movies, just make sure you're always watching some funny movies. Watch Louis C.K. on YouTube, whatever it is, but just make sure that you're getting some laughs in every day.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it that Jimmy V said? If you laugh, cry, and smile or something like that, like you've had a full day, or anything. I can't remember what it was that he said, but it was something really important, like laugh, cry, and love or something. All right.
Yeah, that's probably it.
That might be the love thing. Why am I forgetting it? Because that speech, like the never give up speech, still makes me cry anytime I see it. All right. So of your 12 rules for your life, which one or which ones would be the most important for you if you were on a deserted island?
On a deserted island.
I mean, obviously you can't check email because you probably don't have internet, so that one's out.
No, it probably doesn't matter if you get up at the same time every day, and it probably doesn't matter if you swear, and it probably doesn't matter. You can't really transform any lives. But you know what? I would probably say the rule that I have of getting up and writing first thing in the morning. So if I managed to make my own paper and ink, at least if I wrote, I would always have some record of what I did there, and so it'd be chronicled. So that would be the rule that I would follow on a deserted island.
I like that. At least you have your thoughts, and at least you have somewhere to put them instead of letting them swim around in your head and make you go crazy.
Yeah, maybe if I had a volleyball like Tom Hanks, I'd write on the volleyball every day.
That was a great movie because it was really powerful to see one guy just be on screen, and like you really got into like him talking to the volleyball. Like you felt like the volleyball was a part of the movie.
Man.
Awesome. Well, Craig, I really enjoyed the book, and I'm going to push it for everyone to check it out. The Perfect Day Formula. It's short, it's sweet. I mean, I breezed through it in a day, but it has a lot of powerful messages in it, for how to improve your life. In fitness, in finance, in just overall relationships, and how to reconnect with yourself. Craig, I want to thank you for coming on the show. And if more people want to find out more about you, where can they find you and read your stuff online?
The best place to find me is at earlytorise.com. That's where we put our essays and our articles from fitness to transformation and productivity and business success. And if anybody ever wants to drop me a line, best way actually is with Twitter on twitter.com/Craig Ballantyne. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. I usually respond within 24 hours.
Awesome. Well, Craig, thank you again for coming on the show. And guys, I'll put links for all this in the show notes as well, so you can get links to the book and links to any articles that Craig and I talked about as well. I'm super pumped for the next 10 episodes. I have a lot of great guests lined up for you. And if you enjoyed this, please head over to iTunes and leave a review and help us move up the charts so more people can hear the amazing guests on SideQuest Podcast.